news at 9 for the final hour of our program this morning, which features First Notes Connect. And my guest is American Chinese flautist Joel Tse, and we are going to talk about his career playing the flute in Hong Kong and in America and elsewhere, and also his very, very important mentor and the legacy.
歡迎你繼續留喺香港電台第四台嘅夜心曲，我係李德芬。
逢星期一至五晚上10點收聽由李德芬主持嘅夜心曲，讓你喺曼妙嘅美樂當中重新得力。
On Concert on 4 on Thursday night at 8. The concert, Queen Elizabeth Competition 2025 Laureates Concert Part 2, recorded live in the Palais des Beaux-Arts, Brussels, on the 11th of June of this year. We heard them play the compulsory work and a concerto of their choosing, and so when we reveal the names of the top prize winners, you will know how they got here. We will hear from the third, second, and first laureates performing here with the Antwerp Symphony Orchestra under Mark Albrecht. Join us for more defining moments in the burgeoning careers of these young, talented musicians.
The 12th National Games for Persons with Disabilities and the 9th National Special Olympic Games have entered the countdown phase. Franchise products are now for sale. Check out the competition schedule, mark your calendar for your favorite events, and get ready to secure your spot. Let's gear up for thrilling moments on our home turf. Visit 2025nationalgames.gov.hk for more.
Care teams are made up of volunteers. They use their spare time to help different groups in sub-districts. Through home visits, they get to know more about residents and provide support or referrals as appropriate. They also help spread government information. In case of emergency, they quickly mobilize to support the residents affected. Care teams are a key part of improving district governance. They provide caring services to residents in need, consolidating resources, caring for the community.
RTHK Radio 4. Beautify every day with fine music.
傳奇鋼琴家布蘭道今年6月17號逝世，享年94歲。佢除咗係20世紀到21世紀初最受尊敬嘅鋼琴家之一之外呢，仲係一位詩人、作家兼教育家。喺嚟緊嘅4台音樂會，我哋會一齊緬懷布蘭道，欣賞佢1976年喺柏林愛樂廳舉行嘅獨奏會。布蘭道曾經話，佢對貝多芬嘅敬仰隨住時間日益加深。喺呢一場音樂會當中，佢就會演奏貝多芬嘅一首大型創作啦，《迪亞貝利變奏曲》。除此之外，佢仲會帶嚟 J.S. 巴克2套嘅幻想曲與賦格，仲有李斯特3部嘅匈牙利狂想曲。千祈唔好錯過今晚8點嘅4台音樂會，一齊懷緬鋼琴家布蘭道。
Do you love Mozart's Requiem and music from strange instruments? Do you like listening to music that you've never heard before? That's what the Classical and the Curious is all about. I play music for you from around the world, from the classics to ancient music in all styles and genres. Join me, Christopher Coleman, here on Radio 4 Saturdays at 9 to start your weekend weird with the Classical and the Curious.
You're tuned to RTHK Radio 4, FM 97.6 to 98.9, your fine music channel. Following the news at the top of the hour and other public information, the time has now come to almost 9 minutes past 9. Welcome back to First Notes with me, Olivia Lin. This is our final hour this morning, and in just a moment, I'll be talking with a very, very special guest and internationally celebrated flautist, Joel Tse, in First Notes Connect. And just before we connect with our incredible guest, let's listen to a truly commanding work in the flute repertoire. It's a piece that's both fiery and fun, and this is the Flute Concerto No. 1, Opus 45 of Malcolm Arnold. It's going to be a perfect, vibrant prelude to our guest, and this is First Notes. Let's listen to soloist Clara Andrada as the soloist and leading the Frankfurt Radio Symphony Orchestra in this recording of the opening movement. We've been enjoying an enchanting selection, the first movement from Malcolm Arnold's first flute concerto, Opus 45. The soloist was Clara Andrade. 長笛演奏家安達拉達啱啱為我哋帶嚟過係雅諾嘅第一長笛協奏曲作品45嘅第一樂章快板，佢亦都帶領住法蘭克福電台交響樂團為我哋演出。好歡迎你翻到嚟第三部分嘅由零開始節目，我係你嘅主持凌奇晶。Well, it's time for us to tap into First Notes Connect today, and my guest is already in the studio. Let's welcome him. First Notes Connect.
早晨，我係叫 Joel, or you can call me Joel. 歡迎。
Well, welcome and good morning, Joel. I'm so happy to have you in the studio this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me back.
Wow, it's wonderful. Well, actually, I met you last week when I heard you play in RTHK because you were doing a recording here.
Yes.
And I was absolutely mesmerized
thank you so much.
by your tone. And just a little background about your career for our listeners. Joel is an amazing flautist who has held a number of prestigious principal flute positions with major orchestras throughout his career, including the Toledo Symphony,
Yes.
The New World Symphony, and the Hong Kong Philharmonic,
Yes.
briefly. You have also performed regularly as guest principal flute with the English Chamber Orchestra and the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. It was. I was really lucky to have a chance to play with them.
Mm-hmm.
The English Chamber Orchestra was phenomenal, and the Baltimore was just wow. Yes.
I'm curious because there weren't that many Asians in these orchestra back in the days, were there?
No, not at all.
So what was it like to be able to be a member of these prestigious orchestra and as the principal flute?
I don't know. I never thought about it that way.
Mm.
It's just go and do your job. Play all the right notes, you know.
It's
play
not
in tune,
that simple.
Play in tune,
Mm-hmm.
you know, gotta focus.
Right.
Yeah, play in rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Learning music and playing music is never easy. Being a musician requires a lot more than just playing the right notes.
Right.
Let's go back and talk about how did you start with music. I know you have very, very interesting story. Why did you choose the flute? That's not your first instrument.
No, that was not. My parents tried to get me to learn the piano, so I remember distinctly sitting on the bench of the piano, you know, having my first lesson with my younger sister sitting next to me. And after my first lesson, I hated practicing it. Mm-hmm. I couldn't get my hands to coordinate. And so I refused to go back. And then I didn't really play a musical instrument until, for some reason, I really liked the classical guitar.
Mm.
So my lovely aunt gave me hers, and I started playing, and I was doing quite well in up to high school. And then I discovered the flute. One Sunday morning at church, and I saw this lady playing the flutes with a choir, and I went, that's it, that's what I want to do.
It's very different from the guitar.
Completely different. Yeah, completely different. But I liked the shiny flute, and it was loud, and, you know.
It was loud.
It was loud, and I liked the tone, the sound. He played the melody. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to go and get the flute. I didn't ask my parents, but somehow that one year, just Chinese New Year, I was really lucky. I got a lot of lycée money. And I took the city bus straight down Swan Street in Tucson, Arizona, to a music shop. And 14-year-old, you know, I was 14.
Mm.
And I bought a used flute without discussing it with my parents. I think it was somewhere between $200 and $300.
You haven't even found a teacher.
No, I had no teacher. I tried to play it when I got home, and I couldn't make a sound. And then I found out that I was really lucky that my high school band conductor, the flute was his main instrument in college. So I asked him.
Did you know that beforehand?
No idea. No clue. It just happened. I bought the flute first, and then I found a teacher. Yeah, and then I took lessons from him for about 7 months. And then my family moved from Tucson to Phoenix. And then I got another good teacher. And yeah, never look back. Never look back.
At that point, did you already know that you want to be a musician and you want to play the flute professionally?
No clue. No idea. I was a sophomore in high school, junior then when I was in Phoenix. I kept at it. Senior year, my teacher recommended me to take this audition, the scholarship audition, for the Sun City Symphony Guild. And it's a retirement community on the outskirts of Phoenix. And my sister accompanied me. She stayed with the piano. And I won first prize. And at that time, it was a lot of money. 1983 or 82. $500 US. Wow. And then I took another one, and I got first place. And so I went, okay, let me try music. And I think my parents wanted me to be a vet because I love animals. But I went, let me try music.
Do they play music too?
Not my parents.
They don't play any instruments.
But my uncle, did. He's a violinist. Actually, it was really interesting. I went to visit him in Luxembourg a couple of years ago, and that was the first time that he told me what he did to learn the violin. I guess he was a fairly good violinist, and he's 85 now, I believe. And when he was 14, so you can do the math, he was in Hong Kong, and he took a cruise ship to Marseille, France. Took over a month. He did not speak English. He did not speak French. He did not speak German. And I was like really getting nervous when he was telling me the story. Arriving in Marseille after a month with his duffel bag and his violin, and he had to take a train, but he didn't know that he had to change train at, I don't know, in Metz or something, because he was heading over to Switzerland. Oh my God. And then when he got to Switzerland, the host family wasn't there to pick him up.
Oh.
It was, wow. Yeah. So he was really brave. I really looked up to him. Yeah.
It's very, very important and sometimes crucial in building or shaping someone's career, or even just simply someone's life, to have a mentor or someone to look up to.
Yeah.
I know someone's very important in your music career.
Right.
William Bennett.
True.
Can you tell us, how did you first come across his playing, or what was that experience?
It was years and years and years ago. I think it was in 1984 when I went to Rochester, New York to audition for the Eastman School of Music. And I was staying with a student flute player at their apartment. And out of nowhere, I heard this Bach sonata playing. And I asked her, what is that? And it was an LP, and she said, oh, it's by this English flute player, William Bennett. I was completely hooked. I couldn't stop listening to it, and the name stayed with me. And then, fortunately, the following summer, I got accepted to the Eastman School of Music. But right before I went to Rochester, I was also accepted to his summer school master class in Breckenridge, Colorado. And I went, and I heard all the performers performed, and then it was his turn. He got up, and just playing his tuning A just almost knocked me on my chair. And I went, oh my God, this is it. I want to study with this man. Just his one note, and then he started playing his first piece, and I had, tears in my eyes.
Wow.
Like, what? I did not fall asleep. I was on the edge of my chair. I was just hooked. Yeah.
What was so special about that tuning A?
The colors he had, it just spoke to me, just so expressive and in tune, and I didn't know anything. Like, what is that sound? I've never heard anything like that. And mind you, I went to Arizona State for 2 years, and I, went to Jean-Pierre Brown-Paul's recital, Jimmy Galway's recital. I heard Julius Baker. For those of you who don't know who he was the most prominent flute player in the U.S., principal flute with the New York Philharmonic, main flute professor at Juilliard and at Curtis. And so I heard him play, but nobody ever did anything to me like that. It just kind of went straight through, straight through my heart and went, whoa, fireworks going off.
And it's the tone.
That's the tone. And then his musicianship, his phrasing, going back to the Bach recording, it sounded so organic. And everything sounded right. And I knew nothing. I was, a teenager and knew nothing. So naive. But it just attracted me so much. I went, that's it. That's the right way to do it. Yeah.
Well, listening is always very, very important,
right,
in my opinion, when you study music. And even for, music lovers, I think listening is like the first connection you make with a piece of artwork. Right. So why don't we listen to an excerpt played by William Bennett here? It's not the sonata, it's the third movement from J.S. Bach's Fifth Brandenburg Concerto. We've been listening to flautist William Bennett just there performing with the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields led by Neville Mariner. The third movement Allegro from J.S. Bach's Brandenburg Concerto No. 5 in D major BWV 1050. Tell us more about that tone of William Bennett. I can hear, like, comparatively speaking, a fuller sound from his playing. Can you explain more to us how he achieved that?
Well, the first lesson I had with him, we just sat in a small little practice room at the Royal Academy, and we went through all the basics. And every time I've seen him since I graduated from the academy, almost every year, I try to go to London to see him every year, and he keeps reminding me, you have to get the octaves in tune. And I went, what? Okay, so that means that the first register of the flute, those are the fundamental notes, and then everything you go up, second octave, third octave, those are all harmonics. And you can, for example, you can play a low C, and if you increase the breath pressure, you get the octave. And assuming you're blowing into the flute in the right angle, and you have the head joint in the right position, and you don't move your lips, you just stay there only by increasing your breath pressure, you should get an in-tune octave out. And then his last 10 years, I see him as like, I think I'm aiming for the 12 to be in tune, and when I play the low C, I want to hear the G and all that stuff, and that's way beyond me. But lately, I'm starting to look to get that now. But once you get that, immediately your tone just becomes full. For example, if you blow into the flute blowhole, embouchure hole, a little too high, the overtone, the octave would be very sharp because you blow straight up. And so that's what a lot of people call airy sound. So having the overtones in tune, it's vital, it's important. And then you can play very softly, the core is there, you play really loud, the core is there, so you don't have to work hard, and you can really project well.
I think projection would be a huge benefit out of this playing style.
Without forcing, yeah. I mean, nowadays, modern flutes are so advanced, you can just blow and blow and blow, and boom, it's really loud, but it's the quality that I'm looking for, like Whip. Whip never, ever overblow it, but when you hear him in a room, it's like, whoa. It reminded me of, when my orchestra has a really famous violinist, like Perman or anybody, when they play on stage, it's rough, and loud and unrefined. But you can hear the overtones. But then when you go out to the hall, it's just glorious. You don't hear the roughness. It's just the sound ringing. So, yeah, I can see the similarity between Whip and a Strad.
But for you, when you first started trying to play in Whip's way, was it hard?
I was young. I had no idea, but I was really, really fortunate when I went to his master class in Breckenridge. I met one of his closest friends, Eldred Spell, and he was a professor in North Carolina. He passed away recently. I kept in touch. That was in '85. I was at Eastman. I would call him, and he was so kind. He would send me recordings, cassette tapes, old days cassette tapes of Whip's recitals. And I got some LPs. I would listen to him. And funny thing was, later on after I graduated from Eastman, I would, see some old friends, and I did not know that, but they told me that whenever I play the flute, they can tell that was me. So, when I was in undergrad, I was already sounding different than everybody else at Eastman. So I just kind of listen and try to copy, and I got this sound, and I didn't know anything until I went to London to study with him. So, and then I was really fortunate to have purchased one of these old French flutes, and that was tuned. I got it from Trevor Y, and so I had that flute for 3 years at Eastman. Yeah, and it's interesting. Interestingly, there was a C foot, meaning it's a short. It only has a low C key, didn't go down to a low B, and it was a close hole, and so people kind of look at me funny. They said, "Well, that's the way it is," Yeah.
You seem to be a very, very good listener. You listen very carefully to music. Whether you're learning, you're studying, you're practicing, or even, I'd say, I have that feeling because you were telling us about the first time you heard Whip tuning his flute. You listen very carefully to music.
I'm not sure. Well, sometimes.
Are you always so sensitive to sound?
No. Well, sound, yes. Listening, I have to give credit to my teacher at Eastman, Bonnie Boyd. She always asked me, "Well, what do you think? What do you think? Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" She always encouraged me to listen to more. As an orchestra player, you have to listen. If you don't listen, you get in trouble. You sit in a big group, and as the principal flute in my orchestra, many times I have unison solos. Not solo, but unison passages with either the first violins, maybe the cellos, maybe the trumpet, maybe the first horn, maybe the clarinet. Clarinet, oboes, easy because they're
closer
right,
to you.
Yeah, right next to me. But horns, trumpet, violin, sometimes they're really far away. Or the violas, you have to really listen, and you have to compensate, so yeah, have to.
Do you enjoy playing recital more or in an orchestra, or how do you find these two things being different?
I love playing recitals, but during the season it's very challenging because often my orchestra often would do at least one program or two programs, different programs a week. I have done recitals during the season, but I find it really challenging. I'm hoping to come back next summer and see if we can do a recital in Hong Kong. I do love doing recitals. I do, and however, I equally love playing in orchestra. You don't get that colors, and one of my favorite pieces is Debussy's Afternoon of a Faun, and you start first. Nobody else plays. You start, and the colors, and it's just I think Debussy loved the flute. The whole piece was written for the flute. The flute colors and the way that he wrote in particular register, you just no problem. You can just cut right through. And so that is like the flute is the icing on the cake on that piece.
Well, we'll talk more about flute playing when we come back. Let's listen to another short excerpt because we were just talking about French music.
Yes.
This is Gymnopédie number 3 of Eric Satie, arranged for flute and harp. Well, we've just been listening to Gymnopédie number 3 of Eric Satie, an arrangement done by harpist Emily Granger, who was performing just there with flautist Sally Walker. Now, flute music, a big part of it is like written by French composer. It's French repertoire.
Right.
But, well, like what I've played for our listeners at the beginning of this hour, a flute concerto by Malcolm Arnold, are there any major differences between music written by a French composer for the flute and that by composers from other parts of the world?
Well, you know, the French music started for the flute in the early part of 1900s. Or, yeah, it's all because of the modern flutes was being built in Paris in and around 1860.
Right.
Theobald Böhm, this German flutist slash engineer, he designed the modern flute system, and he sold the patent to Godefroy, who was the father-in-law, if I'm correct, of Louis Lat in Paris. And Louis Lat started making modern flute. And then the professors at the Paris Conservatoire started using those instruments, and one of the most famous flute teacher, and he was also a conductor, Paul Taffanel. He played on his Louis Lat flute number 322, I think. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I happened to try it in London. It's amazing. So during that time, that was when the modern flute came to being, and so you can look back, like Ravel, Debussy, Fauré, wrote tremendous amount of music for the flute, featuring the flute in the orchestra. And also at the Paris Conservatoire, a lot of professors written test pieces, exam pieces, sight reading pieces for the flute. And so that's really when the modern flutes start to blossom. And that time, French music, we call it impressionistic, like Monet, and it's just really beautiful. I love Ravel, Debussy, Fauré, but I also love Mozart, and I love Franck, more romantic composers, Ronicky, Modern music, I don't understand it. I'm still trying to understand it. I do like Jolivet, but when it's too modern, I don't understand. Yeah.
But still, I mean, the flute has developed for so many centuries. And nowadays, it's a very, very versatile instrument. We've just heard an arrangement of the music by Eric Satie, which was originally written for piano, which has a very different kind of timbre, obviously.
Right.
The flute can also, of course, play a lot of music originally written for violin, and I'm sure there are a lot of other works that can be transcribed or reworked for the flute too.
Right.
Can you tell us more about these repertoire?
Well, I was always jealous for violinists because they have just the most incredible repertoire. And when I was at Eastman, I think it was one of my recitals, I decided to learn the Franck violin sonata, and it's arranged for the flute. And so I went to the music library there. I looked up the card catalog and I found about 8 recordings, and I went to the reference desk and I asked for these LPs, and I went and listened to them all. And the one recording that I loved the most was Heivert's recording. I think it was one of his last recordings in Pasadena, and I just loved it. And I thought, okay, I'm playing this violin piece. I gotta figure out the bowings, and I gotta listen to what violinists do. So yeah, I love it. And then one of my, well, he's not my classmate. He's a few, maybe 8 years, I think, or 6 years after I left the academy. Really famous flutist, Russian-born. He's in the LA Philharmonic, Denis Boryakov, and he has fingers like nobody does. And so he loves playing string music. And so he had performed the Sibelius Violin Concerto, the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto, you know, a whole bunch of violin pieces. So yes, and I also performed the Arpeggione Sonata. That was written for the arpeggione, similar to the cello. For the recording that I did last week, half the program those pieces were written for the violin. I love violin music. Yeah, I also love flute music, but somehow, you know, there's just more options.
Is there something specific that you need to learn or pay attention to when you play works that was originally written for violin?
Yeah, of course. I'm working on the Bach Chaconne, and there are all these double stops, and you got to figure it out. You know, luckily, Dennis gave me a copy of his arrangement. Double stops, and the violin has a larger range. The lowest note on a modern flute is a low B, and high, you know, in the third octave, you know, violin can go up really, really high, but it sounds really nice and gentle, can be. But the flute, when you go up to the top third octave, like B's and C's and C sharps, it sounds pretty rough. So you got to take that into consideration. Yeah.
So is that just about like transcribing the octaves,
Right.
or working more specifically about the tone?
You can transcribe the octaves and find the right key that suits the flute better. Luckily, the Algar that I recorded last week, the La Capriccia, it was for violin, and William Bennett arranged it for the flute. He was sitting in a hotel room waiting for something, and he said, "Oh, I like this piece," so he arranged it. Yeah.
So as a flautist, you still learn a lot today, transcribing music,
Oh, yeah. And
working on all these different things.
Yeah, well, my project currently is the Bach Chaconne.
Not only that, you're also a great teacher.
Thank you.
I know you have you carry on the legacy of Whip,
Right.
and like really passing on how he plays the flute, what kind of that special tone that really
Right.
touches you back then. You want to pass that on. Let's talk a little bit about like your teaching career. Students today compared to back in your days,
Yeah.
what's
Ancient
the main
time.
difference?
Well, I find students nowadays are very lucky. Modern flutes are really advanced, you know. And I remember, as I said, you know, I was learning the Franck Sonata, and I had to go to the library and do this and do that. Now, YouTube or Google, you know, and you can go to ISMLP and look for
You have
any
all the
music.
resources online.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much, so easy, so easy. So,
Does
yeah.
does it make learning easier though?
I believe so, and I have met so many young players. You see, I started playing the flute when I was 14, and I'm starting to meet all these young players. They're like 13 or 14, and they're playing like miles better than I was, you know. Yeah, because of maybe more teachers available, instruments are more superior than when I was growing up, you know. Yeah, I was playing on that student model flute that was kind of clunky, you know. I see these students, they're playing professional model flute, you know. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So what were some of the challenges you think flute students nowadays face, or someone who's thinking about to turn professional?
Well,
Is there something like among the community, has
Right.
things changed?
Well, I see this a lot, both in the State and here in Hong Kong. Young kids just really focus on playing their solos. They have all these competitions, and and I find that most of them they're not really focusing on the foundations, fundamentals, do scales and etudes. I mean, scales, I don't mean just do, re, mi, fa, sol, all the arpeggios and, a whole bunch of in thirds, in intervals, and all that stuff. That's the basic fundament. Once you can do that, you can play anything. It's really important.
Mm-hmm. The technique, the groundwork.
Just get the groundwork done, and then you can do anything. And metronome is your best friend. I hated it when I was growing up, and then I discovered that no, it is your best friend. So
that's really like word of wisdom or word of experience, like musician.
Going back to your question earlier, during my time, there was this metronome going, the arms swing back and forth. Now it's in your smartphone. Mm-hmm. And a tuner, so there's no excuse not to play with a metronome. Mm-hmm.
You're getting that groundwork and really, really listening and paying attention when you are like really learning the craft.
Right.
That's very, very crucial. Well, I know you continue to teach and influence young flautists worldwide. Any upcoming plans?
Well, the Hong Kong Flute Center, funny you should ask, we're having a Flute Institute next summer. I believe the dates are August 2nd through the 8th in Hong Kong at Wing-Kam College. Is that Wing-Kam College, Wing-Kam School? And it's going to be we'll continue in William Bennett's teaching legacy. Mm-hmm. I'm going to talk about a lot of his fundamental playing, his tone production, and one of his, this is his Bible, the Moyes Melodic 24 Studies. I'm going to talk about that. Harmonics, and we're also having Rodri Seed coming over from England. He had written, he's a former student at WIBS. Mm-hmm. He's written a book about WIBS teaching. And then also Yao Yao from Beijing. She's the assistant principal flute with the opera there. I met her when I was visiting WIB, and she's a phenomenal player. Mm-hmm. So we're going to, I have spoken to Michi Bennett, WIB's widow, and she said, yes, please do it. And she's completely, happy that we're doing it, continuing WIB's legacy, his teaching. So, please come and check us out.
Mm-hmm. It's great to have someone like you who knows so much about music and about flute playing. And I think most importantly, really, that all came from paying attention when you're listening and finding what touches you. That's the most important part. I think I would say, like, to all the listeners out there, music, whether or not you're doing it professionally, music has to touch you one way or another. Right, that's like the beauty of listening to music and enjoying music.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Joel, for coming in today and telling us about your career and what you have gone through, all the brilliant stuff in your career, learning the flute, playing the flute with different orchestras.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, we have a couple minutes left. Let's listen to the closing moment from this arrangement of César Franck's Violin Sonata. Here is flautist Shahan Bezali.